everyone. So we've been learning about plants now for the last few days, and we've talked about, first of all, what kind of things do plants need to survive? And we talked about the acronym LAWN, LAWN. Plants need light, air, water, and nutrients to survive. You also learned about photosynthesis yesterday. In photosynthesis, plants get the energy they need for food. So water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide go together, and then they make oxygen and food for the plant, also known as sugar. And so today we're going to move on and talk about things that happen in the roots and the stems. So yesterday we talked about with photosynthesis that air and sunlight goes in through the leaves. And today we're going to try to find out, why do we have stems and roots on the plant? What is their purpose? So that's what I want you to be really paying close attention to today. Okay. So if we look at the text, it says, how do stems and roots help a plant? Just like I said, it says stems and roots are major plant organs. They have special structures and jobs to perform. So here we're going to be looking for, what do stems do? Stems, like leaves, are plant organs. Leaves are attached to stems. Many stems hold leaves high. Why do you think this is helpful? Plants need light to make food. The higher leaves are less likely to be shaded by their neighbors than lower leaves. Stems also hold fruit and flowers on the plant. Have you ever poked yourself with a plant's thorn? This sharp point may really be a protective stem. Some other pesky plant parts, such as cactus needles, are actually special leaves. All right, so we're going to talk about two things, xylem and phloem. And those things are found in the stem. I want you to pay attention to what is the main difference between the two. Material moves through two special tissues inside some plants. These tissues are called xylem and phloem. They are found in the roots, stems, and leaves. Not all plants have xylem and phloem, but those that do are called vascular plants. Xylem tissues are tubes that carry materials from the roots to the leaves. The roots of the plant soak up water from the soil. The water carries particles called minerals from the soil. Cells need minerals in some of their activities, including photosynthesis. Phloem. Phloem tissues are tubes that carry sugar away from the leaves. The sugar in plants is dissolved in water. This mixture of sugar-water flows through the phloem from the leaves to the rest of the plant. In trees, phloem is made just below the bark. When new phloem cells form and grow, they push old dead phloem outward. This dead phloem makes up the bark. Bark protects the phloem behind it. You probably would not want to chew on the tree's stem, but you would probably have eaten other plant stems. Did you know that asparagus spears are stems? Another stem is celery. And when you come back to school, I'm going to show you something cool with celery and xylem and phloem. So, like I said, I wanted you to look for the difference between xylem and phloem. And I hope that you saw that with xylem, what those things do is carry water and things up from the roots to the rest of the plant. And phloem is where food is carried from the leaves out back to the rest of the plant. So xylem basically goes up the roots and out to all the other parts, and phloem starts at the leaves and goes back to the other parts to give it its food. All right. Something cool when we talk about bark, again, we talk a lot about how plants and human skin is a lot alike. With bark, we talked about how bark is like the dead part of the tree that's being pushed out when the new cells form. And our skin on top is the dead cells as well. And so when new skin cells are made, the dead cells are pushed out. And we've talked about how gross that could be, because skin is dead skin cells are in the dust and the air and all kinds of other gross places. So we'll move on. All right. The next page just shows you at the top in the blue box some different types of stems. There's like a woody stem, which you might see on a tree or a bush, a shrub type thing. And then there is a stem that's more the green stem. And those kind of things you probably see on a flower or something like that. So I'm not going to read that entire blue box to you, but the main thing you need to get out of that is a woody stem has a lot more xylem in it than a green soft stem. So a lot more xylem. That makes sense, right? Because it's more compact. So there's that. And you can see in the picture at the bottom, it's a pea plant, by the way, if you hadn't figured that out. And the xylem is, the arrows of the xylem are the ones going up the stem. And then the phloem is the arrow that's pointing back from the leaves down the stem. So again, that's the difference between xylem and phloem. On the next page, we're going to look for the function of roots. You're also going to find out about two different kinds of roots. So pay attention for those two things. It says roots. This spindly cluster shown to the right is another type of plant organ. These long roots spread underground as they grow. Don't let their scrawny looks fool you. Roots are strong. They anchor the plant in the ground and hold it in place as it grows. And you probably already know that if you've ever tried to pull something out of the ground and had a hard time with it. There are different kinds of root systems. Each has different structures. One kind of root system is a taproot. A taproot is a large root that grows straight down. It remains the largest root structure as the plant grows. Taproots may store food for the plant. Small roots may grow sideways out of the main taproot. So if you look just to the left of that paragraph, you see carrots. Carrots are a root, and the orange part of the carrot is the root, and the taproot just means that it's just like one big root. They're much easier to pull out of the ground than if you have a bunch of little squiggly roots, which we're going to read about in the next paragraph. So it goes on to say, another root system is a fibrous root system. In this system, many roots grow out in all directions. The roots divide many times into smaller and smaller roots. The fibrous roots of a tree sometimes look like an upside down version of the above ground branches. So again, fibrous roots are going to be the ones when you're pulling the weeds out of your flower bed or whatever that you're really having to work at. They're the ones that make you have to go to the chiropractor because you're old like me and you have hurt your back while you're trying to pull the weeds out. I'm sure you guys can't relate to that though, but maybe your parents can. In the last paragraph, it says roots grow longer because of special tissues near the root tips. Here, cells divide quickly to form new cells. As each of these new cells grow longer, together they push the root tip farther and farther into the ground. And we're just going to look at one more page here. And it is about the functions of the roots. You can see at the top of the page, there it looks like a piece of pie, but it's not a piece of pie. It shows you where the xylem and the phloem are in the plant. It's like a nice microscopic cross-section of the stem. So like I said at the beginning, you're going to have to know the function of the roots. There's actually 3 things the roots do, and you're going to have to answer this question in your assignment today. So pay very close attention to this paragraph. It says roots anchor a plant and may store food. Another major job of roots is to absorb water from the soil. Very tiny amounts of materials from the soil called minerals or nutrients are dissolved in water that enters the roots. With the energy from photosynthesis, these materials are used in important ways in plants' growth, maintenance, and reproduction. So it just told you in the first 2 sentences of this paragraph the jobs of the roots. They anchor a plant, meaning they keep it in place. They store food for the plant. We talked about how when it's nighttime and the sun's not out, plants still stay alive because they're storing their food for later. Well, that's where it's stored. And then the other thing it does is get the water from the soil and maybe nutrients that it needs, and then bring it up to the rest of the plant. So 3 important jobs or functions of the roots. So what you're going to do today is answer 5 different questions. Please use the text to help you because all of these answers come straight from the reading. Number 1, what is the function of the stem? Remember the word function means job, so that was on the first page we read. 2, what are 3 functions of the root? So we just read that on the last page. You're going to want to go there and find that out, put 1 in each box. The third question is, how are xylem and phloem different? That's on the first page as well. Tell me some things you know, the main thing about why they're different. And then on this last page, number 4 is asking if you're pulling weeds and you have a weed that's really difficult to pull out, what kind of roots are on that weed? So is it the fibrous roots we talked about, or is it the tap roots we talked about? So you just need to put that word in the box. And then for number 5, you're going to tell me why do you think it's either the fibrous roots or the tap roots? What do you know about those kind of roots that make you think that they would make it hard to pull out? If you've been paying attention to the video, the answer is in it. And then at the end of this page, there's just a real short 2-minute video. That's kind of a really cool, it takes you on a trip from the roots of a tree all the way out to the leaf, and it's just a neat kind of video. So I encourage you to watch that just for something cool to look at. All right, have a good day and do your best.